that takes so much energy to fucking control, and to have them really show me a way to let all that stuff go, and to be a happier person, and it's hard to. I really don't understand ayahuasca, so it's really hard to explain it to somebody else, but
I don't think anybody really understands it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I know there's some stuff that's stronger than that, but I don't.
That's crazy.
I don't know what it's called.
Ibogaine, you mean?
Is that what it is?
Ibogaine is the one that people use for addiction. There's a place called Beyond that's in Mexico that does that. Rick Perry was telling us about that. A lot of former governor Rick Perry is part of that. He really wants to bring Ibogaine to Texas and have treatment.
We can't be gambling here.
I think they can get Ibogaine. I think especially with a Republican like Rick Perry, who's really concerned about the mental health of veterans, because I think that's where it really shines. Ibogaine in particular helps a lot of people. It gives you like a review of your life. Apparently, I've never experienced it, but the people that have very positive things to say about it, and it's incredibly good at helping people get over addictions. It has a very high success rate. For one treatment, I think it's in the 80%. And then if you do 2 treatments, it's in the mid-90s.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah. People that never go back to the drugs. Never go back to whatever it is, gambling, whatever you have, whatever's wrong with you.
All you got to do is figure out what's wrong with you.
Yeah. You got to figure out why you're doing that. Like, what is this pathway that I keep going down that's sabotaging my whole life? And why can I not resist it? Why do I keep reaching for the bottle? What is it? Why do I keep snorting Coke? What is it? What is it?
And that was the question I had with myself. It's because I drank like a fool for years.
You don't say.
It was funny because whenever I was single again, and I was in the green room, and I said, maybe I'll start drinking again. And everybody at one time went, no.
No,
that's not it. I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
Well, you quit like that, though. You did you were gone.
I did, and but I went to Rhythmia with intention. I wanted to know why I was doing this to myself and why I could not see a way to quit. And it was so tied up in my persona, my stage presence, who I really was at the time. And I'm like, why is this all tied to me? And why can't I shake it? And so with that, I also went through hypnosis because I had to get sober before I went to, because that's not what their deal is. They're not a treatment facility. It could be a byproduct of it, but they're like, yeah, we're not gonna, we don't have detox here, so you have to quit some other way. And once you've been sober for a month, you can come down here, which is exactly what I did. I came up with a way to do that through hypnosis, which I thought was pretty effective. But I got sober once before in one of those rehabs in Malibu for $90,000, and which was, at the time, I was spiraling. I was living in a 5-star hotel in Beverly Hills. I was doing a bunch of blow. I was screwing expensive hookers, which was exactly my life plan. I'm like, okay, here it is. This is, and it ended up feeling pretty hollow, and I ended up going there. And I stayed sober for about maybe 6 months or something like that. But it was white knuckle the whole fucking time. Of no fun. But when I did it the way I did it, when I checked into that facility, I got the night sweats so bad when I quit that they had 2 beds in the new people's things, and I would soak the sheets in one of them and move to the other bed and soak the sheets in that one. I was detoxing big time. Never happened this time. I never had a night sweat, never regretted it, never thought about it again, never tempted to drink again. And I own number 1 tequila still, and it's there at the green room every night, and it doesn't even bother me a bit.
That's interesting. So that's what the big fear a lot of people have is, how will I still be around bars?
Right. And is it a little awkward at first? Yes, and do I hang out in bars all the time other than our club? No, I don't. I mean, I'll go listen to music if there's something, but just to go to a bar and hang out, I just don't do it.
Right.
And for whatever reason.
Well, it's not that much fun being around drunks when you're sober.
No, it's really not.
Like, you got to be in the vibe of the drunks to appreciate drunk talk.
Yeah.
When you're sober and someone's drunk and they're telling you some fucking story about their boss being a douchebag, it's like, whoa.
Right. So, and I also have a natural tendency to just kind of isolate anyway, and so I really, that's one of the things I love about the club is it gets me out of the house. It gets me to go down there where my friends are and do what I do for a living and what I do for a living and what I do for fun, both.
I think a lot of people have that problem, that isolation problem,
Yeah, because I think that that people like you and I think a lot gets dumped on us, because of all the friends that I know that I've known for a long time, I'm the only one that's been very successful. Not out of my comic friends, but out of my regular friends, and it seems like I have to take in a lot of stuff, and I never knew how to get rid of it. So I would just get to the point where I was full and I couldn't take anymore, and that's when I would isolate myself.
Right. Too many people want something from me.
Too many people want something. That's why I gravitate towards you, is because I know you don't want jack shit from me except for me to be your buddy and let us be brothers in comedy and whatever. So
in life.
And so, so that's really good for me. Even today, that's what gets me out of the house sometimes,
Oh, me too.
And
I mean, I love being home. I love being home with my family, hanging out. But my comedy family, I love being around too. And that's what I feel like. I feel like especially when comics are in town that I don't get to see that often.
Oh, it's cool as shit.
Oh, we all hang out together. It's beautiful.
Who were those two actors that were at the club the other day? It was so much fun to have them in there. It was
which night?
Fuck, I don't know. We get a lot of visitors.
When Woody was there?
No.
Will Arnett and Brad Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper and it was fun to have them in the green room because we all we're all around each other all the time. So it was fun to have new people in there with stories we've never heard.
Oh, I wasn't there for that one.
Yeah, it was cool as shit. To have them hanging out. Good guys.
Yeah. Woody was there. You weren't here when Woody was there?
No.
Oh my God, he was so much fun. He's so fun.
Did he do your show?
No, he did my show, but then that was nights before that, and he just wanted to come to the club. He's been to the club a couple of times now.
Harrelson?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's just been hanging out.
Fuck, I always wanted to meet that guy.
Oh, he's so nice. We just all hung out in the green room, and he was just like one of the boys. It was so easy.
How fucking cool is that?
So cool. So he's so easy to talk to. So and talks to everybody the same way. He's like so easy. He's just a genuine dude. He don't even have a phone. You can't even get a hold of him.
Really?
Yeah, he don't have a phone. Doesn't have email. Doesn't do email. Fuck you.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's got an assistant that handles everything. Yeah, it's just probably a freeing thing. Just stop. Just stop. Leave me alone.
Right. Well, I don't answer emails anyway.
But it's also like, let me think about what I think about things instead of being inundated by all these other people's thoughts constantly all day long, which is valuable. It's good to get other people's perspectives on things. I think it enriches you. But at a certain point in time, you become captive to it. And I think there's just too many people that are captive to other people's thoughts.
I think so, too. That's why I'm so close-minded. And I really am. I'm truly close-minded, and I think you're open-minded. And
I try to be.
And I struggle with that because just letting people pour information into my head, I just tend to avoid it. I am engaged, in that I do follow things closely, and not the stock market, but everything else. But that's been a little bruiser.
Don't follow the stock market right now. It's so baffling. It's so crazy. Like, what is going on? Like, the whole world is mad at us. Trump's playing golf, and in between swings, he's on the phone with presidents of countries. We're gonna need more money.
Yeah, that's what somebody told me the other day. Like, is he playing checkers? Is he playing chess? He's playing golf.
He's playing golf.
That's
Like,
what
what
he
does that mean? Everybody wants to think there's some like grand plan to it. Well, they think the grand plan is, look, you we remember back when was it the 92 elections when Ross Perot was in?
Mm-hmm.
So when Ross Perot laid out what happened, do you remember during that debate where Ross Perot laid out what happened with the tariffs? So that like when we try to sell stuff over there, we get a high tariff. It's like a 35% tariff, but they don't get tariffs when it comes over here. It's not the same. It's not like, you guys, there's a tax on everybody if you want to sell your goods to encourage people to buy American products. If you want to sell your products in America,
sure,
we get a tax. That tax goes to the fucking grid or whatever the hell they're fixing with it.
Right.
Ross Perot was laying it out like this is how all the jobs went to Mexico. Because have you ever seen that, Jamie? It's see if you can find it. It's a great speech. Because Ross
When he talked about the giant sucking sound?
Yes. You actually mentioned that earlier in the podcast.
That's what I was talking about.
Yes, that's it. That's funny. Did you just see that recently or something?
No, I just remember it.
Oh, boy. The giant...
He would have been a great president.
I voted for him.
He had big ears. And he didn't come across well on TV.
Independent. He was an independent. And nobody was voting for independent. By the way, they changed the whole way debates work after this, because it used to be if you got 5% of the vote in the primary that you could be a part of the presidential debates. And that's not the case anymore. Or it was 5% in a poll. I forget what the number was that you had to reach, but it wasn't a high threshold. And then you could be a part of the debate. And they changed the shit out of that after this because Ross Perot tanked it. They thought HW was going to go for a second term.
Right.
And meanwhile, Ross Perot fucked it up because a lot of people that would have voted for Bush voted for Ross, and the people that were already going to vote for Clinton voted for Clinton, and Clinton won. But play this, Jim.
$13, $14 an hour for factory workers. And you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25. That's assuming you've been in business for a long time. You've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor. Have no health care. That's the most expensive single element in making a car. Have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement. And you don't care about anything but making money. There will be a giant sucking sound going.
There it is, right there.
That's it.
If the people send me to Washington, the first thing I'll do is study that 2,000-page agreement and make sure it's a two-way street. One last point here. I decided I was dumb and didn't understand it, so I called a who's who of the folks who've been around it. And I said, why won't everybody go south? They said, we'll be disrupted. I said, for how long? I finally got them up for 12 to 15 years. And I said, well, how does it stop being disruptive? And that is when their jobs come up from $1 an hour to $6 an hour and ours go down to $6 an hour, then it's leveled again. But in the meantime, you've wrecked the country with these kinds of deals.
Jesus Christ,
He was
what
right.
a fucking smart man.
He was right. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. American manufacturing collapsed. Yeah. And they did it all for money. And they did it all because they were greedy. They were already rich.
Right.
And if we could have just gotten those motherfuckers some ayahuasca,
Jesus Christ, they'd have smoothed the fuck out, man.
they would have said, oh, okay.
Yeah, let's be nice.
Let's make America great again.
I don't understand the trade war with Canada, because have you ever met a Canadian that had $35 in his pocket? No. They're all broke. They have $22.
Really?
And they'll buy you a beer. I love
They're all
Canadians.
broke?
I've always, they're broke. They don't have any money up there.
How come they don't have any money?
Because it's socialism. I think it's a great place. Don't you love Canada?
I love it. Well, they
Yeah.
have socialized medicine, but it's a capitalist society.
It is, but socialized medicine, and
Yeah.
it's expensive. So
What percentage of the Canadians pay in taxes?
So I don't know.
Let's find that out. What's the Canadian tax rate? I know it's higher than Americans.
I know mine's a bitch.
And when you go over there, you have to pay taxes too. Like if you do a gig,
You have to pay taxes.
yeah, you pay Canadian taxes on your
And
gig.
you get paid in Canadian dollars. I'm not going up there much for shows.
Yeah.
But,
So here it is. Canada's top federal income tax rate is 33%, while the U.S. is 37%.
right.
However, when combining federal, provincial, state taxes, Canadians often face higher marginal rates across various income levels. That's interesting. That theirs is only 33%, ours is 37%. I thought ours was lower than theirs.
I thought ours was 40.
Well, it is when you get to a certain tax bracket, correct? Isn't it? Ours changes when you get higher,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it does.
33% on the portion over $246,000. What's ours in terms of like the highest tax bracket? What's the highest U.S. Is it 37? That's what it is? What's really crazy to me is when people say the rich should pay more taxes. Okay, fine. But where do you think that's going? Where's that going? Where is the money going? Is the money going to the federal government? Do you think they're good at it? Do you think they're good at managing your money? Have you paid attention to all the shit Elon's fucking uncovered? 37% is when you make over $609,000 a year. That's you, motherfucker.
Yeah, well, that's me last month.
This is the thing. It's like, I'm happy to pay tax if I thought that they were doing a great job. But it's just you're being strong-armed into giving money to people that do a really shitty job of protecting your money and investing it in the country. It's a lot of it is going to bureaucracy and bullshit and a bunch of things that you don't have any say in. If you could like opt out of it, if you could like imagine if you like pick what you know, if you had like a whole tax sheet, would you like your money to go to? Would you like your money to go to overthrowing governments? No. Like, what if the federal government's budget was entirely based on the will of the people? Like, you get to choose. Like, how much of your money you want to put into drone strikes in Yemen? I say I don't want zero of my money going to that. You know, how much money do you want to go to this or that or clean water? Okay, clean water sounds good. You know, how much infrastructure? Fuck yeah, fix the streets.
Well, I'm kind of, I agree with you, and I've just heard you say this, that, that everybody should have access to health care and education.
100%.
And
the whole country.
The whole country, everybody, that would rise us all up.
100%. Less losers.
Yeah.
That's how you make America great. Less losers. Less people that are saddled down with a lifetime of debt because they broke their leg. That's crazy.
Yeah, all my sons' friends are all saddled with $90,000 worth of fucking student loan debt, and
subsidized.
And my son was lucky enough that I had enough money to pay for his, and so he doesn't have that burden. But God damn it, nobody should have that burden for an education.
It's just a for-profit institution that roped you into thinking that was necessary, that you have to be. And by the way, you can get as good an education right now online as is available anywhere on earth.
If you have the discipline.
If you have the discipline.
Right.
Yeah. That's what's so wild. That's what's so fascinating about this time, is that it is basically obsolete, and yet people are still paying $70,000 a year for it. And more. Like, what does Harvard cost? How much is what's Harvard's yearly tuition, Jamie? What do you guess? I was like, at least 50, 60.
Yeah, at least 50.
Imagine if you're a middle class guy and you got two kids and they do real good and they don't have scholarships and you got to pay for them.
I can't imagine. I mean, I don't see how people do it. I mean, I really don't.
Barely do it. Oh boy, the total cost of attendance, including fees, housing, and food, reaching around $82,000. Undergraduate tuition is $56,550 for a year. That's a lot of money, man.
Oof. That's 1 year.
Oof.
And if you drop out after 1 year, then you have nothing and you're down 80 grand.
But if you make it through those 4 years, now you're 200 grand in the hole that you owe. And then you have to get a job, and then you get a job that pays 50. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
How
I'll
do
never
we
pay
wash
this off.
Right.
I'll never pay this off.
And then you have to throw a couple of kids on top of that. And
you know something wild? There's people out there, their Social Security is getting docked because they owe student loans. So they take money out of your Social Security to pay for your student loans, because the student loans is the one thing you can never escape.
You can't bankrupt it.
Which is so crazy.
It's cruel.
It doesn't make any sense. You're saddling an 18-year-old with the burden of a lifetime. Harvard will offer free tuition for families earning $200,000 or less a year. Oh, that's great.
To who?
That's a new thing.
Offering it to who? You can't even get into Harvard.
Right, but it's still good. Will be free for students and families earning $200,000 or less a year. College announced Monday. Harvard has long sought to open our doors to the most talented students, no matter their financial circumstances. That's great.
Yeah, it is.
That's great. I just don't know if it's necessary. I think it's probably necessary for kids to go to school just to like a passage, a rite of passage, you know? Like I think ceremonies and rites of passages are missing in our society.
Yeah.
And especially I could speak for young men. They don't know when they're a man. Like, am I a man yet? Am I a man? Like there's some men that, you know, in their 30s, their dad's still yelling at them. You know what I mean? It's like, am I a man? When am I an equal? When am I, you know, we don't have a ceremony. You know, in other tribal societies and all throughout history, people have had rituals, rites of passage rituals, where people feel like, okay, we fucking made it, you know? Like you have a black belt ceremony, you got your black belt. All right. I made it, you know, I'm in. But, you know, so I think there's a benefit in that society. But then you gotta like unlearn all this shit your fucking crazy professors are telling you.
Did you go to college?
Yes. I went to UMass, Boston.
Oh wow, that's a good school.
Yeah, right. Easy to get into. I only went because I didn't want people thinking I was a loser. That's the only reason why I went. I just wasted my time there. I went for 3 years, just wasting my time taking class so I could tell people I was going to college.
Oh, I didn't waste any time. I got kicked out of high school in the 10th grade, so you know, my mind is an open book there. A lot of the pages aren't filled in. And I, you know what? And I always kind of, I regret that a little bit, you know, that I didn't go to college, that I didn't.
What do you regret about it?
Well, just, you know, number one, I think I'd be smarter. But I don't know what it is, and I've made it just fine with what I've had, you know, and you know, I've got attention deficit disorder and all these things. It really kept me from doing traditional schoolwork very well.
I'm not even sure that's real.
Attention deficit disorder?
Yeah, I don't think it's real.
You don't?
No.
Let me change your mind.
I think there's a lot of people that aren't interested in a lot of things, but when they're interested in when they say attention deficit disorder, why are those guys so good at video games? Like, why are they so good at things that aren't school? I think it's just I think we could categorize it into a bunch of different like disorders and problems, but I think a lot of that is a way to get you hooked on some sort of pharmaceutical drug that's going to fix whatever problem you have that doesn't allow you to sit in class and listen to some boring shit for fucking 6 hours.
Right.
You got no problem writing jokes wrong, right? No. You got no problem performing. Like, it's not like there's not a thing that you can't excel at. That you can pay attention when you're on stage.
I don't know about that. I think stand-up comedy was the answer to every problem I had.
No,
because that's what I was good at.
You're a comic. You are a comic. Like that's what you're supposed to do.
But let me give you an example.
But that's my point. Is that there's a lot of different like functions in society. There's a lot of different roles in society.
I think they probably tag ADD to people that don't have it. But I know that I still have it. So if let's say that I was going to put together a ceiling fan and hang it in my roof, which I'm not, I could no more do that than the man in the moon without an Adderall. If I take an Adderall, I'll read the directions, I'll put the whole thing together and hang it on, no problem. Without it,
I bet you could do it without it.
Stare at it. I've tried.
You're bored. You need excitement. You're a certain type of dude who needs a certain type of stimulation, which is why you like the high wire act of performing live. I don't think it's a disorder. I think it's a superpower. I do.
Well, I like the sound of that.
I do. I think the inability to pay attention to shit that's not interesting is not a disorder. It's just you know what's interesting and what's not. You know, to this day, like maybe I have it too, because to this day, when I'm talking to someone, they're saying something really boring. I want to run away.
Right? You don't hear a word that's coming out of their mouth. I don't hear a word,
and I just can't. It's like it's. I
Yeah,
just want to get out.
I'm the same way.
But that doesn't mean I have a disorder. I don't think I have a disorder because if I'm talking to you, I got no problem at all.
Well, let's get 2 ceiling fans out here.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm not that good at putting together a ceiling fan either. I wouldn't enjoy it, but I could do it. You just follow the directions. Like you could follow directions. It's not hard. It's just you wouldn't enjoy it. But if it was something that you enjoyed doing, like learning how to swing a golf club better, then you could pay attention.
I do pay attention to that.
That's all I'm saying. I think there's roles in this world And different personalities fit perfectly into mathematics. Different personalities fit perfectly in philosophy. Engineering. Different personalities. It's like you just got to find out what vibes with the way you think, and we all think differently. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different biology. You know, you just got to find what is the thing that like syncs up with the way your mind works. And the problem with traditional education is it was designed by the Rockefeller family. Like the school system in this country was designed to create better factory workers,
right,
and soldiers, and to get them real early. That's why they want to start you at 5, because they figured out when you start people at 12 or 13, they already got their ideas of what the world is and how the world works. And I'm not fucking shooting somebody for you. You know, so what they do is they get you when you're 5. And when you're 5, they can kind of indoctrinate you, separate you from your parents most of the day while your parents are at work. And so that's like most of your day, you have other people other than your parents telling you how the world is, how the world works, what's happening in your life, and what you should be doing. And that's kind of crazy because a lot of those people suck. I remember thinking that when I was a kid. Like thinking that how strange it is that people that I don't respect and I don't enjoy are the ones that are in control of communicating to me most of the day. I remember very clearly thinking that when I was a little kid, like 10,
Really?
11 years old. Yeah.
You know, I know that when I was a kid, I used to have this this history teacher who was also a PE coach. Now, he had something as intriguing as history to teach me, but I could not listen to him talk. So he couldn't even make American history interesting. But a good teacher could have done it.
Yes.
A good teacher could have roped me in to what was going on and the story of it and how it affects my life and the lives of my parents and my grandparents, how it all went down, you know.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting story. But if you're a dull fucking assistant coach basketball and now you got a fuck one period of history and you have a monotone voice and I'm just out of it, I imagine what it would have been like to have access to wonderful educators.
Right, but if you were listening to, like, you ever listen to Dan Carlin's podcast?
No.
He's got this podcast called Hardcore History. It's incredible. Incredible. It's amazing. It's such a good podcast. And this guy will, like, lay out the events of World War I in a way that you will hang on every word, and you'll park your car. Like, if you got to go somewhere, you'll keep your car running because you just want to listen to where this is going.
Wow.
Yeah. So if a guy like that was teaching you history,
that would have been great. I mean, I think I would have been engaged.
You probably would have been a historian.
Yeah, making nothing.
Yeah, I mean, but Dan Carlin's doing well. But that's someone who loves what they do, and that's the difference. School is this weird indoctrination fucking ritual that we all have to go through, and then we all have to feel real bad about ourselves because we don't want to be there and we're not doing good at it. I felt like a fucking complete loser in school. I never felt like I was supposed to be there. I never felt like I was smart. You know, but I remember like finally when I realized that I was never, like, when I was going to school for 3 years, when I went to college for 3 years, when I finally was like, what am I doing? I gotta stop doing this. It's just wasting time. Because that's all I was doing. It's just completely wasting time. It was like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I could just go, this is not for me.
Well, the one thing is I didn't waste that time, you know.
Right. There you go.
So, there you
I
go.
did.
But, you know, I think I'd have a better understanding of how the world works if I'd understood world history. Right. You know, those kinds of things. I just wish I was, I wish I had an education. But what would I do with it? I have no idea. I'd still do stand up. So
yeah, well, hopefully,
and I wouldn't be any fucking
Jesus
funny.
Christ! Imagine if you did. Imagine if you did go down a different road. That would have sucked.
I know. Before I started doing stand up, I was a window salesman, and I was broke and I had nothing and I was unimpressive, and my in-laws bought us a garage door opener. So I had a garage door opener. Now you're going to think this is really fucking weird. I used to wear that garage door opener on my belt so people would think I had a beeper. I just hang it, clip it right there on my
people
belt.
don't know about the beeper.
Yeah.
A lot of people listening right now, like
I have no idea what that is.
Ron and I have been through all the various stages of technological
wizardry.
Yeah, but the intertwining of our lives, the way, the first thing was the beeper. Like you would get a beeper. Like my friend Johnny had one. You could page people. You could page him, and he would call the number.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
And you stop at a phone booth.
Yeah,
now, what a phone booth is.
And you'd have to like put quarters in the phone book and look at the beeper and Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on? Where you at? And you'd have a conversation with someone. That's how you'd get a hold of them. You have to page them.
Right.
Yeah. Joey Diaz had a pager forever. Joey Diaz had a pager deep into maybe the 2000s.
Wow.
Not kidding. Yeah, definitely in the 90s he had a pager. Because I remember sometimes he would go AWOL and I'd be paging him like, where are you? Like one time we were doing a gig in Jersey. We're doing Rascals in East Orange. And he fucking never showed up. And I finally got a hold of on the phone. He's like, I'm not going to lie to you, dog. I never left Vegas. I'm like, God damn it, Joey. I'll never forget that conversation.
I never left Vegas.
I'm not going to lie to you, dog. I never left Vegas. It was just having a good time. But that's how you got a hold of him. You'd have to page him. That was it. And then one day he got a phone. And when he got a phone, you better not fucking text him. If you text him, he'll yell at you. Like Brian Redband used to text him. He'll stop fucking texting me. And then Joey eventually got an iPhone, and Brian got a text from him one day. I'm like, oh, he's texting? He's like, he fucking texted me. Now we'll text you. But he doesn't like to text.
How's he doing?
Call. He's good.
Yeah.
He's coming down soon. He's going to be here in a couple weeks.
Good.
He's coming real soon, right? When is he here? 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. He only wants to talk to you on the phone. I go, why? Why don't you like talking to people? He goes, I'm insecure. I want to hear your voice. I want to tell you I love you.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I get it. He's old school.
Yeah, he calls me every once in a while just to say hello.
Just to say hi.
Yeah, just to say hi.
Yeah, he's like
just checking on you.
He might be the number one dude that I just talk to mostly on the phone. Very few text messages between me and Joey. Other than I'll ask him like, hey, is April 22nd good? Yeah, we're good. Okay. See you then.
So is he just coming down to do sets?
He's coming down to do sets. He's getting ready. He's going to do a special. So he's doing a bunch of shows. He's got a residency. I think he's doing it in Philly. Is he doing it in Philly? We'll find out when he gets here. But he's doing a residency. He's done a few of these residencies where he shows up like every weekend. He has shows, places. People love him. He opened up for Tom in Madison Square Garden. Tom said when he went on stage, they went fucking ape shit.
Oh, how cool is that?
They went ape shit because they didn't know he was coming, you know? And then all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joey Diaz. They would, He's like the Snuffleupagus. He's a mystical creature.
Right, he is. He is. There's nothing like him. Nothing like him.
Completely unique human being, you know?
It was fun to watch him just stomp the fuck out of the fucking room at the store, man. He just beat the shit out of those crowds.
Beat the shit out of those crowds. Some of the sets that I've seen him have in the OR were, I think it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I've seen everybody. I've seen everyone. Great, great, great comedians who I love to death. And I'll watch them every time they perform. But I think Joey hit RPMs that nobody hit. I think he hit these moments.
Oh, I saw him wind them up, man. Just wind them up.
It's like when people say, like, who's the funniest guy ever? I'm like, come, man, I don't... You know, there's guys with great insight. Like Patrice had great insight. He was really hilarious, but he also had, like, great insight. Joey Diaz, you ain't getting no insight out of Joey Diaz.
No.
He's rock 'em, sock 'em, robots. He's here to fuck you up. Boom. He's here to fuck that crowd up. Oh, he used to have this bit about Terry Crews. Like, when Terry Crews accused some guy of grabbing his dick. You know, and he had this bit about Terry Crews in an underwear commercial. Oh my God, it was so funny. You'd be in the back of the room, just barely breathe. You couldn't breathe, Everyone, like, I was looking around, people are falling out of their chairs. Like, they couldn't handle it. And he was on fire, just purple, fucking red in the face, screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
And like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Those were some of the first sets I saw you do at the store, and when you were doing that bit where you were standing on top of the stool.
Oh,
and
the Kim
fucking,
Kardashian bit?
Yeah. Fucking, I just remember you just how just dick slapped those fucking crowds. I'm like, God damn it, he's good at this. Fuck.
It's a fun job, bro.
It is the funnest job.
We're so lucky. We're so lucky in so many ways. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, when I think about a life without stand-up, it makes me nervous to even think about.
But we almost did it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when we all went through that with COVID, I mean, you were basically saying you were done.
I thought it was done.
Yeah.
I didn't like it anymore. It was I was halfway through every set. I couldn't wait for it to be over.
Wow.
And now I go on stage and I have this whole new gratitude for these crowds, that are still there, waiting, bigger than ever. My shows sell out faster than they ever have.
Isn't that amazing?
And part of it is just because there's less of them, I guess. But also it's because of my friends. The word gets out. You guys didn't let me die.
Yeah. Yeah, we knew. Yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, but it's true. Like, you're one of the reasons why we decided to buy a club. Because you grabbed me when you got off stage that first time. You hadn't been on stage in like 8 months, and you grabbed me by the shoulders. Like, whatever the fuck we have to do, we're gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, and we did.
I'll never forget that moment. I was like, okay, we're gonna do it. He goes, you're gonna get that fucking club open. I'm like, we're gonna do it. I was already thinking about doing it very seriously because I realized, like, early on coming here, I was like, we need a place. We can't just be working out of these rock and roll clubs. They're not set up right.
No.
No,
there's a difference. I don't even like to do sets other places.
I don't either.
That's really what's wrong with the mothership.
I know.
It'll spoil your fucking ass, with great crowds and perfect acoustics and an amazing sound system and then when you move over to another room, which I rarely do another set in town. I did one a couple of months ago, and I was like, this sucks. If you guys want to find me, I'll be down at the mothership. And
yeah, we did it, Ron.
Yeah,
we actually did it. It's interesting when you look back at those conversations we used to have, like we were in the Vulcan, hanging out in the green room, talking about what the club's going to be like.
Yeah,
it seemed like a pipe dream. And I know a lot of people probably did think it was fake. There's a lot of people in LA, like Tony used to talk to them all the time. Yeah, when's Joe opening that club? Club's never gonna open. It's all bullshit. You guys moved down there for no fucking reason. Because the thing about you making a choice, that's a scar. Yeah. If the thing about you making a choice to go and start something up, and the people that are left behind, they kind of want you to fail, especially the haters.
Right.
They want you to. So Tony was like encountering that all the time. These people that just, for whatever reason, they don't want other people to. They don't want other people to escape the bomb that they're in, It's like people from the neighborhood that don't want you to leave. And when you do leave, oh, look who's back.
Right.
People, for whatever reason, people really like when people fail. It's a gross feeling. It's a gross thing, but it's super, super common. Looking for a joint?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That's the first thing they gotta fix, is make this shit legal in the whole country. It's so crazy that...
What's stopping them?
Oh, I don't know. I don't understand it. I mean, it's a political beach ball. It's one of those things that just gets tossed around that I think is good for the establishment that runs the country. It's good to keep it up in the air. Like, I'll promise when I get in office, gays will be able to marry. Yay!
Yeah, right.
And then they're talking about there's people that want to take that off the table. It's like there's a bunch of those things, like Roe v. Wade. That was a big one. There's a bunch of these cultural beach balls that are very important issues to some people, and they get exploited by politicians as a way to promise you this and promise you that, but it never nothing ever gets fixed. Nothing ever changes.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's changing a little. You know, I didn't think marijuana would ever be legal in Oklahoma. I thought they'd be behind us, you know, but boy, you go there now, it's billboards on every fucking street corner. Come get your weed, you know.
New Mexico just authorized psilocybin therapy.
Really?
Yep. For people with depression. I think depression and anxiety. Is that what it's for? Is that what they're using it? Those terms which apply to
sure.
basically everybody?
Right? Everybody. Everybody.
Everybody's had some depression and some anxiety. There you go. Now you can get some mushrooms and figure your life
Oh,
out.
maybe I'll give it a try.
Yeah. It's just the problem is federally it's still not legal. That which is it's so dumb. It's so dumb. You know, and I don't think it's going to change. Unfortunately, I think Trump is too busy with all these other issues. I don't think he's interested in that. So, co-sponsor said, here it goes. The bill would establish an advisory board, treatment equity fund, and research fund, as well as remove psilocybin from the Controlled Substances Act to protect qualified and registered patients, clinicians, and producers, according to a news release released jointly by the Office of the Senate and the House Democrats. So this is what the Democrats have over the Republicans. Freedom to explore your consciousness. Republicans, for whatever reason, they shy away from that. It doesn't fit with their conservative mindset of what you should. And it used to be it didn't fit. Freedom of speech didn't fit with their mindset. And now the Republicans are all about freedom of speech because they realize the consequences of it during the last election cycle. You know, when things get censored and when you have a town square that's curated by not just the big tech companies but also by the federal government itself, things can get weird when you're trying to access the truth. You want to know what is actually going on. When certain stories have actually been suppressed from the news because the federal government deems them misinformation, even if they turn out to be true, that's not good. And so, because of that, the right is supporting freedom of speech, which I think is fucking great. That's great. That's what we all should be supporting. But we all should be supporting the freedom to expand your consciousness. And people have been doing it in certain ways for thousands and thousands of years. And you don't know better if you haven't done it. If you haven't done it yourself and you're passing judgment on people that have, you're not qualified. If you want to go, you know, do a psilocybin session, like a heavy, what Terrence McKenna would call a heroic dose, you want to do that and then talk shit? Okay.
Yeah.
But until then, because the thing is, like, it would preclude you from doing the things that you're doing. Know this, okay? If you are a fucking rampant capitalist and all you give a fuck about is your hedge fund and all you give a fuck about is the stock market and numbers and buying this exclusive that and that exclusive this and getting tickets to this exclusive thing and all you're about is like status and numbers, it will fuck that up. It will fuck that whole thing sideways. You won't be able to take any of that seriously anymore. But that's good. It's good for you. You're not supposed to be taking that seriously. If you've got $500 million and you're still scrambling to try to make more money, like, pause. You're 67 years old. You're gonna die if you're lucky in 30 years. If you're so lucky to hit 97, 30 years happens so quick, man. We've been here for 5, Ron.
I know.
We've been here for, you were here for 6.
Yeah.
You were here, you were patient 0. I always say you were patient 0 in the Austin invasion. Because I remember calling you, it was in 2018 when you moved here? 17. I remember calling you, going, what are you doing down there? Like, we miss you at the store. Oh, I fucking love it down here. Middle of the country. I want to fly. I can fly anywhere real quick. People are nice. Food's great. I was like, fuck, can I live in Texas? I started thinking about it then. But then when the pandemic hit and I knew you were here, and then I had some friends in LA that were also real sketched out by all of it. They all wound up moving somewhere else. A couple of them moved, well, 2 families I was real good friends with, they moved to Dallas. And then another good family friend moved to Vegas. And then another one just decided to stay. And we all came out here together, you know, as groups of friends. And when we were looking around Austin, I was like, fuck, Ron White lives here, I can live here. That was like one of the first things I thought. I thought if Ron lives here, at least have Ron.
Yeah, I got a friend.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I can't do stand-up right now anyway. But then as soon as I moved, Tony's like, fuck it, I'm moving. I was like, you moving too? And then Segura's like, I'm in. I was like, holy shit. And then Brian Simpson came out real early, and I didn't really know Brian well at all until Tom introduced me to him. Tom was like, dude, you gotta meet this guy. He's so funny.
He is too.
He's so funny. So
Brian
he was here
Simpson.
early too, and then Hassan and Derek both moved out here early. I'm like, oh shit, we got something going on. And then Tim Dillon bought a house out here. I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening? This is crazy. And then Duncan was like, man, fucking North Carolina, I don't know. I'm like, come to Texas, motherfucker. And then all of a sudden Duncan's out here. I'm like, holy shit. Holy shit. This is crazy. I'm like, all right, we're up and running. And by the time we decided to make that club, fuck, we had like 10 great guys living here.
Yeah.
12, and more were coming.
And they're
More
still
were
coming.
Yeah, Dylan, Tony, there's so many different guys from the store that used to work at the store all the time.
Yeah, I roped Tony in, man. I'm like, we need Tony here. I gave him my fucking condo and let him use one of my Range Rovers to go out to Dallas. I'm like, yeah, live here for a week. I don't know where I was, but you spend a week here, you'll go, this is doable.
We all were so excited because it felt like we were doing something different.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like we were doing something different. I've always had this fucking part of me where I was like, fuck it, let's go. That's
you
me.
do.
I
You
love
do.
doing it.
You do. You're impetuous as fuck.
Ooh, I like it.
From the time you told me you were I'm gonna move there, you had a house like 2 days later. I'm like, God damn, this guy moves when he moves.
Yeah. My kids helped a lot because they really wanted to move. They didn't.
That sweet ass place on the lake.
Yeah,
that's,
it's like-
that's good. That's good living over there.
It's also like when we came here, no one had masks on and everybody was acting normal.
Yeah.
And so my kids were like, what's going on? Like, why, how come everyone's normal here? We should live here, you know? And then it just happened. And then all of a sudden the store's closed so I can get all the employees. And then I was like, look, I'll pay you now. You don't have to work. Just hang out.
Yeah.
We're gonna do something special.
That was more money than you were thinking.
It was, but money is fun coupons.
Yeah, fun tickets. That's right.
That's what it's
Let's
supposed
go
to be.
have a good time.
If you're not having fun and you have money, you're doing something wrong. Because you should be trying to have fun, and sometimes some things you have to pay for in order to have fun. A lot of fun is free, but there's a lot of fun where you go like, oh, we got to buy a building. We have to hire an architect. We have to pay a construction crew. We have to, we have to do a lot of things, but that's the way to do it. That's what you're supposed to do, and that I was the person who was able to do it because the universe had decided that this thing wanted to get made, and we hit every green light, and then I was like, okay, well clearly this is the thing I'm supposed to do. I know it sounds crazy, but let's go, But the whole thing was crazy. Like, it was in the middle of the biggest deal I'd ever done, ever, in my whole life. Spotify, this crazy thing. I was like, the show was already like the number one show.
What does that feel like?
It was nuts.
Sign that fucking deal. And
Bananas. But I was also like, okay, well, what should, you have to figure out what you're going to do. Like, you have to be, you can't be at the whim of all these other people's ideas and expectations. Like, what do you want to do? It's like, I want to get the fuck out of LA. So let's do it. So I moved in the middle of everything. So there's this giant deal I have, and all of a sudden they're like, where are you going?
I bet
And
they
I'm
were.
like, I'm going to Texas. They're like, don't go to Texas. This is crazy. Like, are you sure you won't be able to get guests? I'm like, look, I'm flying guests in 3 times a week anyway.
Right.
I was already flying people in from New Mexico and
New York. And New York's closer than, it's a great
course.
spot, really.
Right. It's not like a 6-hour flight. That 6-hour flight across the whole country is a pain in the ass. The people were worn out by the time they got there, so they had to have a night to rest and relax and rehydrate, and then the next day maybe still they're probably not 100%. Now, this is like 3 hours. 3-hour flight ain't shit. It's a 3-hour flight from everywhere.
Yeah, it's
So it's-
easy. It's a great spot.
Yeah, but it's also like I feel like sometimes the universe calls you in a way. And tells you, just like gives you a feeling. Like, and I think ideas are like a life form. I really do. I think it's like an unexplored life form. I think that's why the concept of the muse is so enticing to people. because there's something real to it. Like when you decide you're just gonna sit there and write, and you just have, it doesn't always come. Like sometimes you get nothing, but sometimes because you sat there, you'll have some of the best lines you've ever written. Because I think they're like life forms that you have to call into your life, and I think sometimes these life forms, these ideas, they just exist in the ether, and by circumstance, they like kind of gel together and become more valid and more alive, and then they enter into your mind. And if you're ready to receive these ideas, you have to act on them, especially if they're positive. I'm not saying, go fucking burn up the Capitol building because you have an idea. I mean, positive ideas, not vengeful. Like if you have a good soul, if your goal in life is a positive thing, these ideas will come to you, and you're supposed to, if you can, you're supposed to act on them. And I felt like, wow, what a unique opportunity I have to be able to do this. I shouldn't be scared because it's daunting and it's expensive, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you just do this. You just do what you do.
Well, here's one thing that I believe. I believe that things disguise themselves, and we call them coincidences, but there really are no coincidences. And if you'll look for things that look like coincidences, you can follow that line and go somewhere with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what happened whenever with the mass exodus and people started coming to comedy. It's to make this the best comedy scene in the world.
Yeah.
Those things fell into place because that's what was supposed to happen, and I think it all happened because of me. In that, I needed it the worst. I needed this more than anybody else did. And I feel like I was able to cash in all my fucking karma or whatever and draw it all into me a little bit because I needed it. And so,
it makes sense. Like, it's certainly a huge factor, right? Because if you didn't inspire me to even think about Austin, I wouldn't have. And I wouldn't have moved here if you weren't here, I don't think. Maybe I would have. But it helped a lot that you were here. I was like, this makes it so much easier that I know Ron's here. And because there was weird times then, man. Everything was, even going to a restaurant, you felt like you were a rebel. Like, it felt weird. It felt weird to not be scared. Like you wanted to hide the fact that you weren't scared. That you wanted to just go out. It was a strange time that I think even now we look back on. We can't. Like, I watched a UFC fight the other day, an older fight, and all the cornermen had masks on. I'm like, this is the craziest thing.
That's a big timestamp right there. It's bizarre.
It was a fight that took place in an arena in Florida with no crowd. No crowd. It was Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson. It was one of the first fights we did back. It was like...
And you were there?
Uh-huh. Yeah. And I was watching the fight the other day, and I was looking at the cornermen. They all had masks on. I was like, what a weird fucking time. I remember, like, people would get upset if I didn't wear a mask backstage. I'm like, what are we doing? What is this for? Like, this is crazy. These guys are beating the fuck out of each other and sweating on each other, and all of us tested negative. That's how we got through here. Like, is someone magically gonna get COVID while we're all wandering around together? Right. Don't we all test negative? So you had to get in this room. They had to be able to test you. Everybody got tested.
Like those shows that you did with Chappelle. Here.
Exactly. So we're all in this room. Take that fucking stupid mask off.
Right.
But even the shows we did with Chappelle, outside, the people were supposed to wear masks. Outside. Everyone's tested. Is this a mystery, magical disease that we're encountering? That is like demons hiding in the woods for you?
But it was too at one time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I lost Vic Henley to that disease in New York City early on.
But Vic was not a healthy guy.
Well,
what the disease did is exposed metabolic health problems. Like, didn't Vic?
I'll admit that. I mean, he was a raging alcoholic, and he knew it, and I knew he was really considering making some changes in his life. That he was talking to me about, and then boom, gone. So
in that sense, yes, it was.
Yes.
But it wasn't in the sense where all these healthy people who have been tested are wearing...
No. That's ridiculous.
Especially the athletes and the fighters. Like, what we would have to do is if one of the cornermen got COVID, even if the fighter didn't have COVID, the fighter was pulled from the card. So one of the cornermen tests positive for COVID because the fighter had been around him, even if he's negative. We treated it different than we treated anything ever. And especially for the fighters, it was not going to have an effect on them unless they did. There was one guy it did have an effect on. He got COVID really, really bad. But it's because they kept training. These guys kept training while they had COVID. A lot of these guys, they don't give a fuck. They have the flu, who cares? They're showing up at the gym. It's part of being an animal. It's like you'll show up sick and you'll train through but you shouldn't do that. You're just breaking your immune system down further, and especially if you're in camp. So being in camp for a fighter is very different than regular working out. Being in camp for a fighter is you are basically redlining your body, trying to get it to recover, like trying to get it to keep pace so you can get to a superhuman level that's only achievable after like a 12-week camp, and you could only hold on to it for a couple weeks. They know when you're peaking sometimes, and they'll back a fighter off. They go, "We're done today. We're done today. You're peaking too early. You're peaking too early. You don't want to overdo it. So you want to back off your training when you're feeling absolutely perfect, and get yourself just slow down. We're a little too soon. Like a really good trainer knows when you're peaking, but you can't maintain it forever. It's really only for. That's why it's so crazy that a lot of these guys, they'll accept a fight on like 10 days notice. Like that's nuts. That's nuts. Like you need to be peaking. You need to be like, you're gonna fight in a fucking cage. And I know you're doing this as a financial decision, but that's why John Jones is the smartest. John Jones never did that. They changed opponents. Fuck you. Fights off. John Jones. Even guys like Chael Sonnen, who eventually stomped in the first round, like absolutely destroyed. It was not even remotely competitive. It was an annihilation. It would have been an annihilation 365 days a year for decades. It wouldn't have mattered how good John Jones is, and as great as Chael Sonnen is. John Jones was the bigger man. Chael had fought at 185 pounds. John was a big 205, and he was the most talented guy that ever fought in the sport. And he's going to win every time. But when they changed the opponent, they tried to make it Chael Sonnen. He's like, nope, we do things the right way. I go through a full camp. That's it. Fights off. Everybody's like, because they want you to play ball. Get it? We need a new guy. But look, to this day, everybody says he's the GOAT. Well, why is he the GOAT? Because he did everything the right way. He knew, especially when he wasn't partying, he did everything the wrong way too. He did a lot of partying and still beat the fuck out of everybody because he was that good, because he was that talented. One of the craziest things he ever said, Daniel Cormier, when they were having a rematch, they were talking shit in the press conference. And Daniel Cormier said something to John. John goes, "I beat you when I was on coke." It is the craziest statement. Because he says it and you're like, oh, shit. And it's true. It's true. That's how good John was. But if you try to change opponents, John's like, Try to call John Jones in for a late notice fight on 5 days notice. He'll tell you, go fuck yourself. Like, nope. I'd rather hang out at home with my dog. Like, he's not doing it. Like, you gotta. So these guys, when they're peaking, they're vulnerable. They get sick a lot, especially when they're cutting weight, because you're redlining your body, and you could overdo it. And guys overdo it all the time. They overtrain. They just break themselves down. They've kept too much pace and not enough recovery, and they're declining and declining and declining. They show up at the gym, they have no energy, and you're like, fuck. And if you get a guy to the fight that's overtrained, it's horrible. It's horrible to watch. I've seen it many times. The guys just can't recover. They're too tired. They overdid it. They were too tough for their own good. So one of those guys got COVID, this guy Hamzat Chimaev, and this motherfucker is a psychopath. He's a savage, like one of the most savage guys that's ever fought in the sport. And he just kept training. Just kept training. This motherfucker trains like 8 hours a day. He trains like a wolverine. He's an animal. And he was training with COVID, and he kept getting real sick. Wound up getting hospitalized, coughing up blood, gets out, goes right back to it. Same thing. Hospitalized again. He got hospitalized like twice because he wouldn't stop training, because he's that psychotic. But other than him, regular athletes that get it, they just take a few days off.
Right.
Daniel Cormier had COVID, trained through it, and won the title. Won the heavyweight title. Training through COVID in his camp. He was sick during camp and kept training. And everybody was like, let's just keep going.
I didn't get off the couch the whole time I had COVID.
So just imagine those level of athletes, and we're worried about it so much that everybody has to wear a mask. Like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
This is nuts. So all that had to happen too, where we were the reckless ones. We were the ones that like, I'm not buying this. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to Texas. And there was a lot of people that were really mad at that. Like, what are you doing? You're not scared. What are you doing? You're doing shows indoors. You're killing people. Blood is on your hands. There was
they were screaming at you. They were screaming at you.
Mess of people that were just all caught up in this psyop. They were just and it was great. Not good, really, but it was great in that it exposed these fragile thinkers, so many fragile minds that couldn't see the forest for the trees. They couldn't see it. And when we all came out here and we said, we see it. Like, this is bullshit. Yeah, it'll make you sick. Yeah, you'll have to be at home for a week. Yeah, get vitamin drips. You'll be all right. Like, yeah, this is what we're dealing with for real. And a lot of people agreed. And then it turns out we were right. At the end of the day, we were correct. We were correct to want to live our lives. We all went back to live our lives. Oh, it's not too soon. Says who? Says
right.
Who? The fucking government that's been lying to you about this disease
it's hard
the entire
to even
time?
look back on it and realize that it happened. That it really fucking happened. That we were locked up, locked down.
It's not good because it's like when you find out your friend's a bitch and then you have to count on him again in the future. You're like, dude, don't fall apart on me here.
Right.
Show up. Like, don't get scared. I need help. Like, you find out your friend falls apart under pressure. You're like, oh, great. Why are you crying, Mike? What are we doing? Don't cry. This is crazy. Like, now you can't count on Mike because Mike falls apart when shit gets hot. And this is how it feels like a good percentage of the country. It was a joke from my last special, but I really feel this way. We lost a lot of people during COVID, and most of them are still alive. I wrote that line thinking about specific friends. It's like, what did you think was going on? Yeah, it's a disease. But since when have you changed your entire fucking life for years for a disease? This is nuts. Since when have you listened to the entire government tell you can't have outdoor dining because of a disease? Like, a disease you've already had? You've already gotten through it, and they're still telling you this, and we're a year and a half into this fucking thing. And yes. So we were right, and so many people, because we were right, so many people also came, and that's the beautiful thing. It's like people speak with their actions, and the people that are willing to make a leap like that, those are the ones you want there. Those are the ones. Like, we got the best of the best. We got the most fuck you of the fuck you people. Because comedians are fuck you people.
They are.
Something happens in society, like, hey, man, fuck you.
Right. Or eat a steaming bowl of fuck.
Eat a steaming bowl of fuck. No matter what it is, And the world needs that. I need that. I need you here. I need Tony. I need people like that, the same way that you did. It's the way we all sort of collectively manifested it together. But without you, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, so you guys come on down to Austin, Texas, and check out the mothership and see how much fun we're having if you don't believe it. If you think we're making this shit up.
Because of you, I also almost bought the cult house.
Well, yeah, right. That would have been,
we would have made it happen.
People say, yeah, he did. That would have been horrible. It wouldn't have been horrible.
Nah, it would have been amazing.
Because it was a cool place, and it was.
It would have been amazing.
Yeah, it would have been amazing.
It would have been amazing. Yeah. It's an amazing spot, and it's hilarious that a cult used to own. I feel terrible for all the people that were roped into building it, and all the people that guy butt fucked.
You were doing that piece that was so funny, and you quit doing it. You didn't do that on your special.
No, I didn't.
No, that was so funny.
Yeah, it's a true story.
Remember, I gave you that line that it's okay to hypnotize people and butt fuck them because it falls under the category of I talked them into it.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
That's not illegal at all.
Yeah,
I talked the guy into letting me fuck him in the ass.
It's kind of technically not illegal.
With a watch going back and forth in front of his face. That's not illegal. That's not drugs.
The guy was a hypnotist and a gay porn star. Like, what a combo.
Right.
And then when they found the gay porn, like you watched the documentary, right? Mm-hmm. The documentary is incredible. But Ron For the people at home, Ron had performed at this. So you had performed at that place. I fucking love that theater. You should buy that place. And then it was for sale. I was like, oh, we're in.
Right.
And then Adam Egget is the one. He goes, have you seen that documentary that's on that cult? I'm like, oh no, Ron, what have you done? What have you done? I watched the documentary.
I don't think I even realized that at that time that's what that building was. I don't think I knew that it was a cult building whenever I first took it. Maybe
you seen the videos of the guy dancing around inside the building?
Oh, yeah.
That was what it was built for.
I'd seen that years ago. I mean, years and years ago. So I knew about that anyway, but I didn't realize that was the building. Or maybe, I don't know.
Those are the same people wearing masks in their cars. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's why you can start a cult. If you just get everybody who wears a mask in their car, you could rope those motherfuckers into doing almost anything. And that's how cults get started.
Yeah, no, people are looking for leadership.
Well, they're also looking for community.
And they're really dumb.
Like, think about the positive aspects of the mothership, right? Like, we're all having a good time. Well, this is what everybody really wants. But what if the only way you can get that is to believe Baba Ganesh over there, who changed his name, and now he wears wooden beads, and he sits in the lotus position, and everybody's got to suck his dick? Like, I just wanted to do yoga and hang out with everybody. Why'd I gotta suck this guy's dick?
They kept sucking his dick. And you know what? They're sucking his dick somewhere else now, in Hawaii.
In Hawaii.
Yeah, he's still getting his dick sucked.
Some guys are just really good at
getting their dick sucked.
It's like the thing where you need to be on acid to understand the Grateful Dead. It's like you need to be at the special frame of mind with a special 9-volt brain where you can get talked into a cult like that.
But it happens every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day all throughout the country. You know, I was talking to Mark Andreessen about this, venture capitalist guy, brilliant guy, and he was telling me that there's a ton of active cults right now in California.
Oh, yeah.
That are functioning. Like, you only hear about the ones that wind up getting in shootouts with the feds. There's a bunch of them that actually function somehow or another. They keep it together. You know, people leave. They tell the horror stories, and some people join.
Right.
But, like, Wild Wild Country is a great example. That Netflix documentary.
Great. Yeah.
The crazy thing is, in the beginning, it looked so fun.
Yeah, it looked completely fucking doable.
So doable.
You know, our leader's got really nice fucking cars. Look.
Yeah.
How could he be wrong?
He can't be wrong. He's got 20 Rolls Royces. There's so many of them. It's like whatever the way that we evolved in tribal society to listen to the chief, we all have this like strange desire to either be the chief or listen to the chief.
Sure.
You know, either be the alpha or listen to the alpha. And someone can pretend to be the chief. They can pretend to be the chief with magical insight. And you know what the most fucked up thing about that documentary is? The thing that still fucks with my head is that guy would do this thing to these people called the knowing, where he would and they would orgasm. They would just have they would literally meet God. To this day, they all say that it was real, that thing actually did happen. Like the power of suggestion, the fact that he kept it from them for so long, and then the one day where this is your coming of age ceremony, where this is the one day you're going to get the knowing, and he would put his hands on them, and they would really experience something. And they said it was like they were experiencing God, like it was the most bliss they had ever felt in their life, and that they never felt it again. So the circumstances and the ritual activated this innate part of our consciousness that's always there. This ability to talk to God, the ability to communicate with God, which is probably what every religion is trying to do. It's all like this whisper of the truth that's out there in the ether, and everybody knows that it's out there. There's something there. I just have to figure out how to. And this guy, this crazy gay porn star, hypnotist, butt fucking all these dudes, still, even this guy was able to touch these people, and they were able to access that part of their brain. And they were in. They were like, oh, we're in, man. I'm following this guy everywhere. This guy really is like connected to God.
Well, you know, I think that prayer, start with that, just prayer, is a physical thing, not a spiritual thing. And that's why it works for anybody. You know, I believe it's a way to channel energy, and it changes the way you feel. But it doesn't matter what you're praying to; that it's a physical transference of energy,
Right.
not a spiritual thing. And because anybody can do it, and also hypnosis is so powerful when it's done correctly. And I know that because I've experienced hypnosis done well. And so, boy, if you had both of those things, you know, you could have power over anybody that's stupid enough to fucking
Yeah,
lie.
that's the problem. That was what they did during the Manson family, MK Ultra, during those days. This is part of the Chaos book by Tom O'Neill. It's about the Manson family murders. And one of the things that they went into is the fact that this guy who worked for the CIA at the time was part of MK Ultra. His name was Jolly West. And Jolly West is this figure all throughout the counterculture resistance movement that the federal government had sort of concocted. And part of what he was doing was teaching people how to manipulate people with LSD. And he was teaching Charlie Manson in jail. Like this guy visited Manson in jail. Then Manson would get out of jail, and Manson would get in trouble, get arrested, and then get released. And the sheriffs all say, it's over my pay grade. They were all told to let him go. And so he was implicated in murders, violent crimes, and they always let him go. They always had to let him go. And he was getting acid. And he had sophisticated methods of manipulating minds. It wasn't as simple as, like, this is a charismatic dude and they all want to cut a baby out of fucking Sharon Tate's stomach. No, it was way crazier than that. It was sophisticated mind control from MK Ultra. And they wanted to see if they could get people to become homicidal maniacs. And they were right. They could. They knew how to do it, they used it, and they got Manson to do it, and it threw water on this whole anti-war hippie movement. All that peace, love shit, whoosh. Now hippies are murderers. Now hippies are Charles Manson. Now you know, your kid wants to just like fucking paint flowers and show up at Grateful Dead shows. No, your kid's a murderer. Your kid's a fucking... all the hippies are suspects now. It worked. It was a fascinating thing they did. Like the way they threw water on this movement that was happening, like in 1970, just threw it down and put Schedule 1 on everything. If the Nixon administration hadn't done that in 1970, who knows what the world looks like today? Like, who knows? Who knows if you can get ibogaine and ayahuasca in America, if psilocybin had stayed legal? What, it was made illegal in 1970. All that stuff, all that stuff became Schedule 1 in 1970. Marijuana was always illegal. It was illegal from like the 1930s. And that was because it was a textile, and that was because it was a commodity. It had almost nothing to do with the drug itself. They were trying to outlaw hemp. They were worried because they had come out with a new way to process hemp fiber. It's called a decorticator. They invented this thing. It was a big thing. Popular Science magazine, hemp, the new billion-dollar crop. It was like they were saying, we're all going to use hemp now because now there's an effective way to process the fibers, and they're superior to everything else. Make superior paper, superior cloth, superior everything.
Right.
Much better plan. And William Randolph Hearst is like, fuck that. So William Randolph Hearst starts publishing stories in his newspapers about how blacks and Mexicans are taking this new drug called marijuana. They invented the name. It was a wild Mexican tobacco. That's what marijuana used to be. It was slang for a wild Mexican tobacco. So they put that name on cannabis, something that people had had forever. People have been smoking it forever. It was literally the origin of the term canvas.
Comes from cannabis.
Yes. It's all hemp. If you go like the Mona Lisa, those are all painted on hemp. The first draft of the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp. Hemp was a far superior paper. It's really difficult to tear. It's a crazy fiber.
Can we put this on pause
You
for a
got a piss?
second? Huh?
You got a piss?
Can we put it on pause for a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whew. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ron White had a moment there where he, the cold came back, the sickness came back, and
Yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment. I don't know what that was.
well, I was over here blabbing about the illegalization of weed. and how crazy it is. And we were talking about ayahuasca and all those things, and all of a sudden you just got a little pale.
Yeah, I got a little pale and started sweating. I don't know what it is. I just got a little sick. I feel a little better now. I had a nice yak.
This is how long has this sickness been with you?
I felt fine all day. I felt fine yesterday. I played golf. I had,
Has this happened before though, or it just comes on out of nowhere?
No, this would be the first time.
So maybe it's maybe it's another thing, like a food poisoning thing or something.
Fuck, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Wow. And you've had a couple IVs, right?
I had 2 last week, and I'll go home and get another one. I'm sure I'll be fine in just a little bit.
Damn.
Sure I'll be cool.
Damn. And you played golf.
Yeah, played golf with my son. Had a great time.
It's a nice day to play golf too.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that we have out here in Texas is real weather. I love it when it rains and everything's so green and pretty. And
You need to go down to Costa Rica.
I do need to go down to Costa Rica.
Stay in your neighbor's place.
I do need to go.
It's the sweetest thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
My big pet peeve is when people say it's the best thing you've ever seen. I'm like, this is the best thing you've ever seen,
Yeah.
buddy. I've seen some shit, I've seen some shit.
Exactly. Like, what are you saying? I've seen so many things.
But that place down there, that's another driftwood, or kind of like driftwood. But it is fucking gorgeous.
I heard that driftwood place is amazing. Place out here.
It's the best, man. It's so pretty right now because all they blow in a bunch of wildflowers all over it, and it's just fucking gorgeous. It's a great golf course.
I almost wish I played golf.
It's a waste of time and money. You don't have, you don't. I know you don't have time, so.
I would love it. I'm sure. But so we should probably wrap this up because you're not feeling that good, right?
I feel a little better.
You
but
all right?
Yeah, I'm
We keep
okay.
rolling a little.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's just when someone gets sick like that, you don't know what to do. Like,
Fuck yeah, I don't know what to do, but I swear I feel better. I don't feel hot anymore.
it's so weird. So weird. Like, what is that?
I just need to get something out of my stomach real quick. I think crazy. Quickest way to do it.
It's just crazy that something's been like, you have a little invader in your body
Yeah.
that you're fighting off. That's what we're doing all the time, fighting off these invaders.
Yeah, I'm still coming to the club tonight. I'm gonna get a drip and come do a set.
Of course, this will be fun tonight. It's Cam Patterson's show tonight.
Oh,
We're gonna
good,
have fun.
good.
It's an exciting time. Really is. And the world is so chaotic right now, which is great for comedy. Whenever the world's fucked up, comedy's at its best. Gaza, and Palestine, and it's fucking Ukraine, and tariffs. It's great to come out and do some comedy.
Yeah. You know what I stay away from all of it.
Good.
And of that subject matter, any politic or anything like that. And the reason is, I know my crowd. I know what they want, and they want to laugh really hard, and they want to. And I think that I've always taken a position as I'm just not going to bring that into it. I'm going to let us do something. And I love it when other people do that are really good at it, and it's fun to watch and it's entertaining as fuck. But I just decided a long time ago that I'm just gonna go out there and make them laugh as hard as I can make them laugh, and let them have some time off from tragedy or whatever. And I'm not that good at it anyway. So I've never been a political commentator, right? So why be one now?
Well, the problem with politics is you're going to alienate 50% of the crowd.
Dead split.
Yeah.
Dead split.
And if you're one of those people that takes a stand on stage, like, okay, great.
Right.
Now you're taking a stand.
Yeah.
Okay, but just let's have fun.
It's silly.
Unless what you have to say is so good that you can make someone laugh.
Oh, if you're good enough.
Yeah.
If you're good enough.
Right.
I saw people try to take on 9/11 right after 9/11, but I only saw like one person that was really, if you're good enough to write about that, then write about it. But if you're not good enough to write about it, leave it the fuck alone.
Leave it the fuck alone. That's some black belt material.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be
skill level, whatever.
Yeah. You know, Mitzi Shore wouldn't let Brian Holtzman on stage for 2 weeks after 9/11.
No, I didn't know that.
She's like, no way. Keep him off the stage. The Holtzman couldn't wait to say something fucking completely outrageous. Whatever that demon inside of him that comes out when he's on stage.
Yeah, I don't understand him. I really don't.
Because
I love him to death, but he's such an original character and
the most.
Yeah,
he's from a different time. It's like he was brought here from another dimension. He's like a different thing. Even the way he dresses, it's like he's from the 50s.
Right.
And he's like my age. Like he's not. He was like that when I met him. He was from a different era when I met him in '94. I was like,
oh, you've known him that long?
Yeah, I'm like, where's this fucking guy from? Like, you're from a different time.
People fucking love him though, man. He's
got a crowd now.
Yeah, he does.
That's the difference between the way he was treated at the store. Unfortunately, he fell into this through nobody's fault. But it was like everybody waited till the end when Holtz would go up. But like, why have him on the end? You know, it's like, have him on when the crowd's hot.
Right.
Like, don't put him on at 1 a.m. Put him on at 10. You know, let's see when the crowd is like popping. Like, let him cook when the crowd's popping. You know, and now he sells out. People come to see him.
Right.
In the headlines, it's like people get excited. You know, he's a maniac, and he's got a crowd now. He's got like a legitimate draw.
They get it.
Yeah, they get it.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's fun. And, you know, that's also the difference between when a comedy club is run by a comic. You know, because Holtzman has always been a comic for comics. You know, we all would go to see Holtzman at the end of the night when he was doing these insane sets for 15 people in the main room.
Right.
But now, like, we're running the show, so, like, give him a fucking weekend. Like, let's go. Give him a Thursday night. Let's go. Let's have some fun.
Right.
Especially the 10 p.m. shows.
Right. He does a lot of Thursday.
Yeah, especially 10 p.m. shows. That's the best time to see him. When it's late and you've had a couple of cocktails.
Right.
You feel a little crazy about the world.
Yeah.
Let that guy loose.
You understand it's a joke?
Yeah, you get jokes. You get someone saying something he doesn't really mean.
Right.
It's completely ridiculous to say. Yeah, that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he acts like he means it, and you buy into it. No, it's a joke still. Yeah.
But every now and then he'll show you behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Every now and then he'll give you a little peek, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is correct. He's having fun.
He is. He's having a good time. And he loves Austin, too. I see him walking around downtown almost every time I drive through the city. He's just...
Yeah, it was a big getting him here. It was a big get because we wanted to bring a lot of there was some magic that was trapped in the talent of the Comedy Store. It was magic. And some of it wasn't being utilized correctly. Holtzman's the best example of that.
But what a fun hang it was, you know?
What a fun hang.
Yeah, it was great.
That's some of my favorite times in my life in that back bar.
Yeah.
Just laughing. We would be back there just laughing. That was a great thing the Comedy Store did when they put together that bar.
Yeah.
That it had Mitzi's actual bar from her house was the bar there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that bar didn't used to be there. Like, so the early days, that was like a storage room. And so at one point in time, the store was like really killing it. They decided like we should turn this into a bar. And I don't know what year was that. I feel like that was like 2014-ish, which is right when I came back. And the store was killing it. And we all were like, oh yeah, we'll have our own bar. This is incredible. And you had to go through the kitchen to get to it, like a scene from Goodfellas.
Right.
And you get back there, and you could only be back there if you were cool. Like you couldn't buy a ticket.
It was policed, too.
Yeah, you had to have a friend. You had to know somebody to get back there. But we would be hanging with some of the coolest people in the world.
That was my favorite place to drink. And
It was so fun. There'd be musicians back there.
Smoke pot back there.
And everybody was just chilling. The drinks were free.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. It was so fun. The store was a magical place, man. A magical place. And there's something about the fact that, you know, it had this insane history to it that you felt like, wow, I can't believe I'm even here.
Right, standing on the stage, same stages of Pryor.
Kinnison.
Kinnison,
Yeah.
right.
And you're in the the belly of the beast on Sunset in Hollywood, like right in the middle of everything.
Right.
The middle of everything, where everybody. I remember when I was a kid in 1988 when I first started doing stand-up. They would talk about the Comedy Store like it was a mecca.
Right.
You had to make your pilgrimage to the store. And some guys would say they went there, but they bombed. Went back to try to do some meetings. And then I said at the store, I bombed. I fucked that place. Like,
Yeah, my first trip out to LA, I was trying to get on at the Improv. I couldn't get on, and I was like, oh man, I went to the Comedy Store, and I told them my story. It was Monday night, and they put me up first, which wasn't a really good spot, and I ate it, and but they did put me on stage. There it is, right there. There were about 10 people in there or whatever, nobody, and it was a horrible experience. But I always look back at it fondly, because they did it. They said, yeah, go get on stage.
first time I ever came out to the store, I was out in LA to do some pilot thing for MTV, and I was staying at a hotel, and I knew where the store was. I was like, I gotta get there. I just gotta see what it's like. And they let me in because I said, hey, I'm a comedian from New York. Can I just come in and watch the show? And they're like, yeah, sure. They just let me right in. And then I sat in the back of the room. There was like 19 people in there, and they were all like, the comics that were on stage were terrible. They were all like Bodaks. They're like people that and then I realized years later that what had happened was a lot of these scenes, they go in these peaks and valleys. And I had caught it when it was at a valley. And before it was at a peak, like the Kinnison years, it was a giant peak. When people would come to, it was the wild place. Kinnison was there. They all come at midnight and watch him, and celebrities would be all there. And he had died in like 92, I think. And I got there in 94. So there was this absence.
Whoa, right.
It was a real lull. There's a lot of like leftovers, people that were in the 80s that didn't make it.
Right.
But they were still around. They're still doing stand-up and hoping that something was going to happen. But they had tired acts. They were just tired. It hadn't happened for them. They were out there doing pilot season. They didn't want to be at the store because if you're at the store, there's no agents. There's no executive. No one comes to see you at the store at that time. They would go to the Improv. Go to the Laugh Factory. That's where the industry was. So if you really wanted to have an actual career, you wouldn't be doing sets at the store.
I used to have to do sets in front of Bud Friedman going, language! Watch your language!
Yeah. There was a lot of that back then, right? The TV days. Everybody thought you had to be clean.
When I came back to the store, it was in its heyday. You were running the podcast, and the fucking place was packed to the rafters, and the comics were solid as fuck.
We had a magical run. It was a magical run,
and we're having one now.
Yeah.
So
it's the same thing. I mean, it's basic, but it's our version of it, the new version of it. But it's the same thing. It's just like. It's a beautiful thing when, that term artist is very pretentious. So just say comics. Realize that we're all doing this thing together, and there's not a lot of us, and it's fun to hang out together and enjoy each other's company and appreciate each other and appreciate the ride. We're all in this wild ride together.
That's right, and it is quite a ride.
It's a beautiful ride.
Quite a ride.
Yeah, we're very lucky, Ron White, and I say it all the time, but it's true. You're patient zero.
All right, man. I'll take the title. I'll take the title.
You're really patient zero because you just threw up. Imagine if you have some fucking new COVID. You picked up some new COVID in Vegas that kills us all.
Yeah.
I love you to death, brother.
I love you too,
man.
Thanks
for being here.
Hey, you got. Thanks for having me on.
Goodbye.
See you guys.
Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
What's up, Ben?
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. Very nice to meet you, man. So, why don't you, instead of me, why don't you explain to people what you do?
So I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Colossal Biosciences. We're the world's first de-extinction and species preservation company.
Yeah, and that is a wild thing. I mean, this is essentially, literally wild. This is essentially real life Jurassic Park.
Yeah, we get the Jurassic Park occasionally. Like, believe it or not, we get that.
Of course. I mean,
I gotta drop my hydrogen tablet in.
Oh, you
so.
do those? The Gary Brecker
Oh yeah,
ones, right?
I'm all
Those
in.
are great.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I love those.
I just didn't want you to think it was we were going a different direction.
How did you get started even thinking about doing something like this?
So I kind of fell into it. I didn't wake up and say I saw Jurassic Park. I'm super stoked. I love animals. I want to go work on this. I'm just a weirdly curious person. So there's this guy named George Church. If you don't know George, you should look him up. He's the father of synthetic biology. He's at Harvard University. He's 6'7" with narcolepsy. He's just the best, right? So if you ever had him on, he may fall asleep during the podcast, but he's the absolute best. He's a genius. And I thought my background's in software and just building teams of people that are smarter than me, right? And so I was interested in synthetic biology, this idea that we could engineer life and that we could use AI and compute to make it even better. Like, how do we do directed evolution and how that can apply to like crops and animals and all kinds of stuff. So I get on the phone with George and I ask him my questions. He answers them in like 6 seconds because he's a genius. And then I start asking about all the other weird stuff that's coming out of his lab. In that process, he's like, you know, I've also been working on mammoths and other things. I was like, wait, what? And I was like, if you have one project, what is it, this mammoth project? And then he went down this whole path about how he'd bring back mammoths, reintroduce them in the Arctic, help the ecosystem, use those technologies for conservation, use those technologies for human healthcare. And I kind of thought it was a fucking joke. I literally thought that like the smartest man I've ever met and been on the phone with was a joke. Well, then I stayed up all night just Googling George, and there was this weird mammoth through line. Whether he was in 60 Minutes or, you know, Stephen Colbert, whatever he's in, there was this weird mammoth through line where he was just obsessed with these mammoths, and everyone kind of wanted him to do this. So I called him back the next day. 7 days later, I'm in his lab, and we were off to the races on, okay, we're going to try to go build a company to bring back extinct species.
So how do you decide what to start with?
So we started with the mammoth first, right? Because George, you know, had been working on it for 8 years. We needed his core technologies. We thought that there was a huge application to elephant conservation. There was some ecological modeling that had been done to show that the reintroduction of mammoths back into the wild could actually have a net benefit to the ecosystem. And so that was an easy place to start. After we launched the company, it went crazy viral, and all these other folks from de-extinction research started calling us, like folks from like the Thylacine or Tasmanian tiger, which looks like a mythical creature. It's awesome. The Beth Shapiro with the dodo, everyone just started calling us, and then we just started expanding, you know, our entire set.
So how does one do this? So like, before we get to what you showed me earlier, which is fucking amazing. Before that, how does one do this? Like, from what I understand, you have to take the gene of an Indian elephant, which is the closest thing to a mammoth.
Yeah, let me walk through the whole process.
Yeah.
So first you have to find ancient DNA, which is pretty shitty on a good day. So the minute we take DNA out of our bodies or out of anything, it starts to degrade at an insanely rapid rate. So we definitely need to find a lot of samples. So we actually have about 109 mammoth samples, ranging from 3,000 years old to 1.2 million years old, which is awesome. But it's also fragmented. It's like a shitty jigsaw puzzle that you don't know what the box is, and someone's stolen part of the puzzle, and then, oh, by the way, people have taken other puzzle pieces and put them in there. So there's all kinds of problems with that. So this is really an AI and compute problem. It's not as much a human problem. So you have to get a lot of samples first, and then you have to start mapping them to their closest living relative. And genotyping allows us to understand that that's Asian elephants, right? So Asian elephants are 99.6% the same as mammoths. They're actually closer related to mammoths than they are to African elephants.
Really?
Yeah, which always blows people's mind. That and the fact that mammoths were alive when we were building the pyramids, or aliens or whoever was building the pyramids. Like literally, like humans were building the pyramids while mammoths existed. And sometimes that blows people's minds because they always think of them as in this like weird, like prehistoric, like 65 million years old dinosaur.
When did they go extinct?
So the last one went extinct about 4,000 years ago.
Really?
On Wrangel Island. Yeah.
Wow.
So they've been a while. They were around for a long time.
4,000 years
I know
ago.
they weren't. I mean, now they appeared about 2.5 million years ago, as far as we understand. They were mostly a Pleistocene species, but as we moved into the Holocene, kind of the period that we're in right now, they existed. They existed all the way up until they had this like small genetic bottleneck on Wrangel Island.
Wow. And where's Wrangel Island?
It's northeast of Siberia.
Whoa. And they just Was it a small island? They just ran out of resources there? Like, what happened?
Well, there's a couple different theories, right? One of the theories with Wrangel Island is that they actually there's lots of inbreeding, so there's lots of like genetic bottleneck which happened because there's not enough different species there.
How large is Wrangel Island?
I'm not quite sure.
Can you give me a photo again, Jim? Okay.
And so essentially, though, Wrangel Island, and then there's another island called St. Paul Island, which is also between Alaska and the United and Russia. Also, is where they were. Those were kind of the last two places that we know mammoths existed today.
And they died out 4,000 years ago.
Yeah,
So
and now
it's
some
very
actually
small.
there is actually another working hypothesis that
yeah,
they
so
actually
it's-
ran out of water. They ran out of access to fresh water on the island.
Oh, wow.
So some combination of genetic bottleneck and that occurred.
Wow. 4,000 years is so recent.
I know it's crazy recent, right?
Jamie, can you please pull up a photo of an Asian elephant versus a African elephant?
And they're actually mammoths because there's mammoths themselves. Yeah, mammoths themselves are close related to the Asian elephant. They
Which
have
is
that-
on the left?
Yeah, which is on the left. So they have that dome cranium. They have the small ears. They have a little bit of a hump structure. Mammoths because they had these massive tusks, right? And you've talked to lots of folks in kind of the mammoth world. They actually, move their heads quite slowly. They had to, they had to have this entire ridge of extra muscle in order to do that. But one of the things that's awesome also about the Asian elephants is some Asian elephants, some of the ones that are born actually they're not mammoth-like, but they have a lot of fur on them, and they kind of lose it over time.
Wow. So are those the ones that you would find like in Thailand?
Yes, and Thailand, and then parts of different parts of India in the Indian
I
subcontinent.
actually rode one of those once with my family.
Oh, did you
I
go
don't
to that?
recommend it.
Did you go to one of those places that you like take care of them?
Yeah.
and-
You have to like get a relationship with them. So you
Yeah.
feed them sugar cane and you wash them and
Yeah.
you play nice with them for like a while.
Yeah.
Like a couple hours. It was like at least an hour just hanging out with
Yeah.
them, petting them. And then once they decide you're cool,
Then they'll
like,
let you in.
They let you ride them.
Yeah.
But my whole family rode them, and I was like totally opposed to it. I was like, I'm doing it just because you guys want to do it. I just want to feed them.
Yeah.
I just want to hang out.
Hang out with them, yeah.
They just felt weird. My daughter fell off, I think twice. My youngest daughter fell off once at least, and I was like, "Do we know that this elephant wants us riding?"
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah.
a weird thing.
It's a weird thing, right? Yeah.
And then afterwards, you get in the water and you wash them,
Yeah.
and everything. And I just kind of hung out with them.
I'd be cool.
They're
in
very
the-
sweet.
I don't think I want to ride one. I like being, around them,
I think there's a
feeding
video
them.
on my Instagram of it. Yeah, there is. There definitely is because she was eating a log. I was like, oh, "Why are you eating a log?"
Yeah.
It's just weird. They're so enormous, but they're really like peaceful and chill.
Incredibly smart, and they
Yes.
have incredible pack dynamics, right? So
Yeah.
they live in a herd. They've even had all these different examples where they also adopt other animals. I don't know if you've seen any of these videos, but
Oh yeah, so here it is. So this is a few years ago in Thailand, and this is an Asian elephant just chilling with this elephant. Yeah, 2018. Okay, there it is. It was really cool.
no, it's awesome.
It's just cool to be around them. They're just a fascinating animal. Just
Yeah.
the biodiversity of Earth, the fact that that thing exists is
they're
enormous.
this enormous thing with this like robotic prehensile
Yeah.
arm. Yeah, it's crazy.
As long as you're cool to them, they're cool to you.
Yeah, they sense it, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we see that in nature with a lot of animals, right? If you sense it and they don't feel like they're, being backed into a corner or fearful,
Right.
then they're not going to be around that. So
Right.
some of our animals I've been around, and they're starting to get quite large, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point.
Yes.
At some point, though, you're still kind of like, they are wild animals, so you have to maintain some level of healthy distance.
Yeah. So let's just get right to it.
Wait,
So-
wait. We
no?
didn't, you want to
Okay.
finish the process?
Yeah, please.
So we have the ancient genome, so you have to collect and assemble.
Right.
And that's, a lot of people just think of us in the lab, like just a bunch of people in the lab. But that's like some Indiana Jones shit. Like we're literally going into the permafrost and like collecting dead samples from the permafrost, which, you've had, John Reeves on here. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It smells like death. It literally, I guess it is death. It's just over time piled up death. And
Have you visited, John?
Yeah. I visited John.
You went to the boneyard.
Yeah, I went to the boneyard.
What's it like there?
It's crazy. It's exactly what you'd expect. I didn't know John. So I'm on the board of trustees of the Explorers Club. So we take these expeditions. We did an expedition to Alaska to do mammoth retrieval, and then we're also doing some cultural studies with some of the indigenous people groups around mammoths. Like, do you want mammoths back? Is this a good idea, right? Because we try to be pretty inclusive. And they're like, oh, we got to meet the biggest landowner in Alaska, John. And I was like, okay, great. I'm excited. So go meet him. We pull up. He's in a different car, and he's like, and I think he wanted us to follow him. He's like, get in. I was like, okay. And he's a big dude.
He's enormous.
Yeah, I'm not that big of a dude, right?
No,
especially
John's a
after,
giant.
Especially after Gary Breck has been working on me. I'm a smaller dude, right? And so, like, I literally get in. I get in the car. There's a bunch of stickers, and there's one that has butterflies on it that says "Give 0 fucks." And I was like, and he's like, just move the gun over. So I move the gun over, and he goes, listen. And this is the first words out of his mouth to me. If I stop short, you hand me that gun. And I was like, I didn't even ask a follow-up question because, like, what do you do when you get in the car with John and he says, you hand me that gun? If I stop quick and I say, hand me that gun, you hand me that gun. I was like, that's awesome. And he showed me around the...
What kind of gun was it?
It was just some type of rifle.
So it was just grizzlies.
I assume it was for grizzlies, yeah. Or bears or, something large.
Yeah.
But then he showed me around the boneyard and showed me his collection. And he was completely... I mean, he didn't know us from anybody. He just opened up everything to us, right? And he's like, let me show you all this. Showed us his skull. He actually has a warehouse. I don't know if he ever discloses where it is, but he has a warehouse where he has some of the greatest specimens ever.
Yeah.
So it's cool. You should go. It's cool.
I do want to go. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. And then, being in the mammoth researcher business, we're like, oh, we'd love to use some of your samples. Can we take them? And he's like, no. And he was very honest. And he told us, and that's like before your podcast with him, we kind of learned that story, right? And so that's what sucks is how like some people can ruin it for everybody.
Yeah.
Because he outside of Fairbanks, it's not the easiest place to build a biocontainment level 3 lab.
Right.
But he was open. He's like, you build a lab here, you can use whatever you want. But he's like, the bones stay here. So he's very consistent with his messaging.
Well, the whole deal with the Museum of Natural History, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
and I totally believe it.
Well, it's a fact now. They found these bones in the East River exactly where they told them to drop it off. They have steppe bison fragments.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Woolly mammoth fragments. So they know that they're there.
Yeah, and you've built a relationship with John. He's just a normal, no bullshit kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's like, you stole this stuff, give it back.
Yeah.
Or he's also like, hey, if you want to come work on it, come on. Like, he's very collaborative.
It's like, what do you guys have? Like, why are you keeping that?
You built a relationship with John. He's just a normal, no bullshit kind of guy. Yeah. He's like, you stole this stuff, give it back.
We go to like the catacombs of the museums, and it's exactly what you think of as like the Vatican archives, right? You go down to like sub-basement 4 of the Smithsonian, and it's just rows and rows and rows of taxidermy animals that you've never seen. It's got like little drawers and boxes, and they're like, oh, this is giant sloth poop. And I was like, I didn't know there was giant sloth poop. They're like, yes, and we think there's DNA in it. I was like, well, this is like, the card catalog of like all like dead species, but it's not on display for the public. It's just in a basement.
And is it extensively archived? They know where everything is, or is there some stuff down there that they don't know what it is?
I wouldn't say that they are at least any museum, I think they have a lot more than they know. I don't see it in like massive computer systems because we ask for inventory lists and, like what's the shopping list?
It's been over 100 years they've been doing this. So people have come and gone.
Oh, they'll pull out drawers that have like Darwin's name on it and stuff like that. What? I mean, that's how we did the thylacine. We actually found in a cup about this size, we call it the miracle pup, where they shot the mother, they took the 3 joeys, the babies, killed the 3 pups, and they put one of them in formaldehyde, and we got a 98% complete genome from the first sample of that pup.
Wow.
But they didn't even know they had it. They also, on the thylacine, which I'm sure we'll talk about more later, they also found a head in a bucket. They didn't even, it was the mom's head. So we could actually look at the genetic relation between the two. And they didn't know they had the head in the bucket. They just had a head in a bucket. They opened it up as marked thylacine. They opened it up, and there was a full thylacine skull in there. There's pictures of it online and everything. And we used that to get to a 99.9% complete genome because we also had the ancestry of the pup and mother.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's probably treasure troves in some of these museums that aren't being fully utilized.
So if you have 98% or you have 99%, what's the process of going from that So here,
Yeah, there's the head. There's the head in the bucket. So Andrew Pask, who leads our in partnership with the University of Melbourne, leads our thylacine work. And that's the head and bucket. I mean, there's soft tissue, there's teeth, there's petrous bones, which we'll talk about.
Do you buy into any of these sightings?
No, I did. So Andrew Pask, for years, he's been working on it for 15 years. He's amazing. He's awesome. He's been working on it like a shoestring budget, and that's part of the problem with the extinction is nobody's put real capital into it until now. And he's been working on it for 15 years, and he's had people send him, poop, clippings from hair, and all this stuff over the years. They just send it to him, and then he loves the thylacine so much he just sequences it, and he's like, "No, it's a dog. You sent me more dog shit. Thanks." I mean, it's demoralizing. But like when I got into thylacine, we met Andrew. We did a partnership with him. We actually made the largest investment in marsupial research, more than the Australian government. We made the largest investment in research for marsupial development of anyone. So we do this. And then you get into the myth of it, right? So you start reading it, right? I start reading all the books on the thylacine. I get obsessive about projects. And so I'm pretty obsessed about extinction right now. And so got super deep in it. And then I started calling Pask. I was like, "Hey, I've been watching these YouTube videos, and I kind of think they're still there." And Pask was like, no, stop it. Don't go down that rabbit hole. So I don't believe.
Why did he say that?
Well, because he's been testing for the last 15 years all over Tasmania, right? So not just Southern Australia, but all over Tasmania.
So samples, poop,
Samples, just everything, using camera traps. And nobody's... I think that they officially say that the thylacine went extinct in 1936. Mm-hmm. But probably in the late 40s and early 50s, they still existed. But, I mean, I think it's very unlikely that one still exists. It'd make our lives a lot easier.
Forrest really believes it.
He does. He thinks they're in Papua New Guinea.
Because of sightings.
Yeah, he said he thinks in the western part of Papua New Guinea in the mountains.
And also incredible.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
And the separation of that topography separates the Papua New Guinea singing dogs, which could be competitive for them for predator-prey, from where the thylacine sightings were.
What's a singing dog?
It's just another large canid that has a unique howl. Yeah, so this still exists. Well, I'm sure Jamie can find a video.
I want to hear it. I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
Singing dog.
Yeah. Papua New Guinea singing dogs.
By the way, folks, we're teasing you because this is not just theoretical.
Yeah, so
this is what's going to get crazy.
Yeah, it's going to get weird.
This podcast is going to blow your fucking mind. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Opera singers.
That's what
These rare animals have a knack for holding a tune, even to an exact key.
Opera singers love these.
Oh, they're so cute.
Yeah.
They're so cute. Do people keep them as pets? That looks like a dog.
Yeah, that looks like a dog.
That looks like a dog. That would be
They're
a
wild.
park.
They're wild dogs in Papua New Guinea. But I'm sure people have domesticated them.
Pretty fucking cool dogs. Hanging out with a fox.
So once you have enough of that DNA, right, from all these different samples, you can assemble it. You then have to build comparative genomic models to its closest living relatives. In the case of the mammoth, the Asian elephant. But I'm from software, so I just assume there's like the Google cloud of DNA. Like we backed up, like we've all done 23andMe before we went bankrupt, right? So we should assume that the government or someone backed up and had kind of like the 23andMe of all species.
Right.
That doesn't exist.
Wow.
Which is insane. So there's no backup. There's no like Noah's Ark bio vault for life, like kind of like the seed vaults. That doesn't exist. And so we're actually petitioning the U.S. government to help put a massive project together to help biobank it. It's starting with just American megafauna and food species. So that doesn't exist at all. And so then Colossal had to go out and go build reference genomes for all the species, like the closest living relatives for all the species that we're working on.
So this is the question. If you have, say, let's go to woolly mammoth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have woolly mammoth, you have 99%. How do you bridge that gap? How do you create?
That's synthetic biology. So you never have to get to 100%, right? You need to get to probably synthetic biology. That's where you are using all of these different genetic tools. Probably heard of CRISPR, all these other things. Genetics, which is it breaks the DNA. It's not always the best tool. We can now actually make individual edits to when you think of the DNA double helix, right? In those rungs of the ladder, those individuals are called nucleotides. We can change the letters. Like that's how precise we are. We can say at spot 4,000,008, I need to change that number. And so you change that letter. And then other times you actually synthesize big blocks of DNA. So when you notice that in the mammoth and in the Asian elephant, there's a difference, and if it's in these certain like protein coding regions, in all these different regions of the genome that drive phenotypes or physical like attributes, like curved tusk, dome cranium, small ears, the subcutaneous fat layer, and then hair and coat color, you can actually then engineer that into the Asian elephant, right? Because you're only really looking at that 0.4% difference, right? It's still a lot of numbers. You're only looking at that, and so the better you can be at software, and the better you can using AI and computer models, the less edits you have to make, right? Because you're really just trying to target those core phenotypes.
Right. Are there specific genes that regulate size? Because they're larger.
So mammoths are about the same size. They're a little bit bigger than Asian elephants, a little bit smaller than African elephants. So there were 11. Everyone argues over the definition of speciation because it's a stupid concept that humans made, not nature made. And so there are 11 different types of mammoths out there that evolved in different ways, and some of them were larger. But the woolly mammoth, the one that we're pursuing, that has that woolly phenotype, it was about the size of Asian elephant. But there, to your question on size, it's actually a cluster of genes. We're finding more and more about how different genes also map across all species as well.
And so there's specific characteristics that these animals have, one of them being the big furry coats. That you guys, what did you do with mice?
We made woolly mice.
See if you can find that.
The only like unintended consequences was they were cute as fuck. Like people lost their minds, right? Like I was on the phone recently with a moderately aggressive journalist. And it was going quite poorly, as some calls go.
Moderately aggressive? They were being aggressive in what way? Like,
some
why
people,
are you doing this?
Some people, yeah, everyone likes.
Look how cute!
Yeah. So
my daughter actually found this online and wants one.
Yeah, so we get that a lot from
woolly
kids.
mouse.
So every week, I don't have my laptop on. I should
Look
run down
how
there.
cute!
But every week.
Oh my God, they're adorable.
So these woolly mice aren't just adorable. We basically said, look, what are the core genes that drive the hair phenotype or physical attribute of a mammoth from an Asian elephant to a mammoth? And then because we want to do this in the most ethical ways possible, there's about 200 million years of genetic divergence between mice and elephants. We didn't just want to ram mammoth DNA in there and see what happens. So we look for the mouse equivalent, right? So we look for, like, all of us have similar genes, so we can try to look for those genes and then edit those genes with the data we got from the mammoth, so that we're then not just putting random genes in there that could either hurt the animal or kill them, right? Or that may not even be compatible with life, right? So we try to be really, really thoughtful about it. And the woolly mice it went insane. There's people that are like making T-shirts, a meme coin, and so we made 36 mice. They're all healthy. There's 36 mice that we made. And what was crazy about it is we're excited about it because it shows that the end-to-end process of taking data from an ancient DNA, comparing it to a living animal, making those changes, doing it with 100% efficiency. And that's really important and really hard. So we did it with 100% efficiency. Yeah, that's the difference. Well, so the
one
mouse,
of them, if it was in a trap, he'd be so sad.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
the little guy on the left, if he was in a trap, he'd be like, oh, isn't that funny? Just a little bit of fur.
Yeah.
Makes you love them.
And that's the color that we think most mammoths were. So,
Really? They were like a blonde.
They were like a golden brown color, right? Because when we pull them out of the permafrost, they've been sitting in mud for quite some time. But if you see very fresh mammoths, like from Siberia and whatnot, like in Yakuts and other places in northern Siberia, that they actually have pretty well preserved mammoths. They actually have kind of a dirty blonde gold meets brown fur. And so we did that, and now there's people that are making T-shirts that aren't us, and pillows that are like legalized woolly mice, and they're not illegal. And then there's a meme account for the guy that did the CRISPR babies, that went in trouble for making edited babies in China. Yeah, a meme account.
Oh wow, so
yeah.
that's mammoth fur.
Yeah, a meme account though actually said on X that these are a bioweapon. And that Colossal's made a so the weirdness of the woolly mouse went crazy viral. What we were trying to show is that we use our multiplex editing tools, meaning that we edited all of those genes at the same time. Most people edit one gene, let that mouse live from the second lineage, they'll do one more gene, let that mouse live, and then they'll stack those edits over multiple generations. We've developed a system so that we can deliver all of those edits at one time, all over the genome, get exactly what we want, and then we have this what's called monoclonal screening, where we're screening the cells at the end, sequencing all of the cells, which is expensive and sounds like overkill, but then we know that none of them have unintended consequences or off-target effects in the genome, so that we know the mice that we then do cloning with, we know that they'll be healthy. And so we try to spend a lot of time, on that, because we're certified by American Humane Society. It's the oldest humane organization in the world. And if you've seen the film, it's like no animals were harmed in the making of this film. That's correct. Right. So we've ended up, so we really care about kind of not just the de-extinction efforts, the genome engineering efforts, but ensuring that the animals are healthy. And so the woolly mouse was a really interesting proof of concept. It shows that the edits that we are working on are working right, and we're getting exactly what we predicted.
Is there any plans to sell those?
No, everyone keeps asking us that. But you know what? Museums actually are now calling us saying, and zoos are calling us saying, can we display the woolly mice? They're like, it'll drive so much value. It'll teach people about genetics and whatnot. So it's not our business model to sell our animals or to sell woolly mice, but it's kind of gone crazy.
Is it dangerous though to leave these mice in the hands of someone, even at a zoo, who decides I want more of these?
Yeah, if we ever put them, I think more likely we put them in a museum that needs to be free, like the Smithsonian or something like that, from an education perspective, versus something that's more attraction based. I think we do it more in the case of.
Do you plan on keeping this batch alive?
Yeah, they're going to live out their normal lives, but
you're not going to make new ones.
We may make new ones.
What if
with
they breed?
These won't. They're all separated. They're all separated by sex. So we're not going to have like a Jurassic Park moment where they change. They're all separated by sex. But if Jamie finds a picture of their habitats, they actually live a couple years, but they don't live like traditional lab mice that live in like a small little cage and all on top of each other. They actually live in pretty sweet digs that we made for them. We spared no expense.
Cool little house.
Yeah, and they're big, and we put fun stuff in them to play with like this. And what's been crazy is we only named 2 of them, and we named them Chip and Dale because we people were asking what the names were, and I was like, Chip is the only thing that I could think of at the moment. And now even on X, people are like, we need pictures of Chip. Where is Chip? We've only seen pictures of Dale. And there's like these incredible internet sleuths that are like, that's not Chip, that's Dale. We need a picture of Chip. So
get involved.
Yeah, so we've just
don't get involved with those people.
We've not leaned in. Yeah.
You cannot.
We're excited. They're excited, but we just can't.
Yeah,
we're busy.
So this is a new thing. The woolly mouse is a new thing. Mm-hmm. Is there any talk about doing other kind of new things?
So it's more of a proof of technology. I think that the mouse model, because it's a 20-day gestation versus 22 months in elephants, it's a great way to test phenotypes. Because with a mammoth, you have 3 ways to test if you got the edits right. 1, you can do molecular tests. You can do DNA sequencing to see if it worked. 2, I guess there's 4. 2, you could grow a mammoth and see if it looks like it, but that's a lot of work in 22 months, a lot of gestational time, a lot of money. I think there's a lot of risk in that. The third, and this is a little weird, we created what's called induced pluripotent stem cells. So we created cells that you can then turn into any type of tissue. So we actually do have mammoth hair follicles growing in a lab. So we have hair growing in petri dishes in the lab, which is pretty cool. And if you come see the lab, you'll get the whole Willy Wonka tour of it, which is pretty cool. And then the fourth way is mice, right? Because it's like if we can then engineer them into mice, we can see immediately within 20 days if the edits were working, if there were any unintended consequences that would be detrimental to the animal.
Wow.
So we'll probably make more iterations of the woolly mice. The thylacines' closest living relative is the fat-tailed dunart, which is a mouse-sized marsupial. And it actually gestates in 13 and a half days versus 20 days. So there's no reason to do it in mice when you can do it immediately in the model species.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you make the decision to do what you ultimately did, what you showed me before the show?
We're working on the mammoth, the Tasmanian tiger, and the dodo for different reasons. We work with a lot of different private landowners, governments, and indigenous people groups. And a project that we announced through our Colossal Foundation about 2.5 years ago is doing a population genomics map. We talked about biobanking a little bit. So we want to understand from the bison that are still here in America, what's genetic diversity, what's been lost, what's the number of inbreeding. So we go through this whole process to try to understand, and then we were giving a report back to MHA Nation. Chairman Fox, it's one of the largest indigenous people groups in the United States, one of the largest tribes based in North Dakota. So we're giving them a report out on this. We went to their nation, wanted to share this, and then we're curious. So we said, what other projects would you work on if that we could do that's helpful outside of helping bison? And they said that we needed help with wolf conservation. And they brought up that. They said that we needed help with more bison conservation. They said if we could do stuff around eagles and fish. And so we kind of got that feedback. And when Chairman Fox was walking me through their cultural heritage museum, he actually stopped on this incredible picture of a white wolf. And he said, that's the great wolf. And he talked about the ancestral knowledge that was passed down and that's been lost, and how many people believed that it could have even been a dire wolf. And I was like, from Game of Thrones, that's cool. I love the show. That's interesting. So he did that. We talked about that. And then 3 months later, I was in North Carolina, and understanding that for a completely different meeting around financing. And in that meeting, the Red Wolf program came up. I don't know if you know anything about the Red Wolf, but it's kind of a disaster.
Yeah.
It's the only endemic wolf to America. It's only endemic to America. It's a red wolf. It's beautiful, and there's like 15 left in the wild. With massive loss of genetic diversity, massive bottleneck. And I was like, wait, we're supposed to be this country of innovation. We can't save our own. When you think of like the American West, right? You think of wolves. You think of like, eagle soaring. You think of like trout and bears catching trout. You think of bison. The thought that we could lose one of these amazing icons, like we're like, we have to do something about this. We have to figure something out. So we put that kind of on the list. And then in a weird series of events, we've had all of these kids over the last 3 years, and teachers and parents sending us pictures of woolly mammoths or dodos or thylacines. Like, we get like boxes of this every single week, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna make a colossal kids corner out at our new labs. And in that, we've had all some Hollywood talent, like Tom Brady, others that have invested in the business. They're just excited about it. Most of them learned about it through their kids, kind of like with the woolly mouse with you. And so everyone's excited about it. And then we talked again to MHA Nation. They brought up the dire wolf again. And so we thought maybe there was an opportunity to bring back an American species, because dire wolves were only found in the U.S., a little in North America, but predominantly in the United States, close to the United States. And we thought if we could do something that could bring back the dire wolf, also help wolf conservation and bring people from like sci-fi, fantasy, and kids more into science and into the conversation around conservation, we thought it was a cool idea, but we had no idea if we could pull it off.
Is there dead dire wolves that were trapped in permafrost, or is
No, most of the dire wolf skulls out there